The podcast you are about to listen to contains at least one of the following: strong language, disturbing topics, abusive opinions, generally things that aren't appropriate for little kids or overly sensitive people. So, if any of that stuff's going to get your nose out of joint, this is your chance to turn it off. Welcome to I Had to Say It, the podcast where I not only say the things I need to say, but the things I think you need to hear. And your feelings, they're not a factor. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of I Had to Say It. So we're going to start out as we do by saying to Josh, Iceman, Jason, Miss Aaron, Mike, Tabby, Javier, Fitz, McShane, El Jefe, El Devlin, El Morte, the guys at the Weathered Report, and to Billy G and our newest supporter, Walt from the B-Raw podcast. Thank you guys for your support. It means the world to me. Now, just to touch on briefly, Walt, I've talked about him before on the show. Walt is a good dude. Walt is a really great listen. Every other week he does a solo, shorter episode, and then he has guests on the opposite weeks, and those are longer episodes. And Walt's a great dude. I sat down and talked to him. I was on his show a while back. Walt, we're going to have to get you on my show sometime whenever you feel up to it, or just get together and shoot the shit sometime. It'd be great to talk to you again, brother. But yeah, so he's the newest supporter, and welcome to the fold, Walt. Appreciate you, man. So anyway, now that that's out of the way, let's get caught up. Apologies for last week's episode not dropping, having technical difficulties and a storm happening at the same time as my computer crashing. I believe we have all the technicalities worked out for the time being, at least. Think a new desktop is probably the next thing on the list of stuff I'm going to need to acquire once I get some disposable income coming in. But that's neither here nor there. So for the time being, we missed a hell of a week, and it's been a hell of a week since then. The world is apparently barreling full bore into just fucking chaos and stupidity. It's like these motherfuckers are actually trying to bring about the end of the world. And, the conspiracy hat, the tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist types are going to say, well, yeah, they are. And it's the one world order and all this, the whatever shadow groups are out there. And honestly, the WEF is definitely trying to push for their green cult, death cult bullshit and the global communist horseshit mentality that's going on out there. And it's getting worse. All these failed states across Europe where their open border policies are just biting them in the ass. The people, I don't really want to say indigenous, but the resident populations of these European nations finding themselves replaced by people coming from the Middle East and from Africa and from assorted third world nations, primarily, this is not phobist or anything else. Anybody that might hear this and get out of joint when I say it, it's simply factually accurate. But a lot of these Islamic nations that are sending their people to these European nations because they have open borders, and a lot of them are claiming to be refugees, and they're not really refugees, because if things were so terrible, they wouldn't be going back home for vacation. But instead, they come to these European nations because they're given free food, free room and board, free cell phones, free technology, free support. They don't have to do shit. All they have to do is show up and take what the government is handing them out, because all these liberal fucking retarded governments around Europe are just open borders, welcome in, we'll pay for you to be here. And we're starting to finally see pushback. The Irish are getting fed up. The English are getting fed up. The English are finding themselves displaced in their own country, which is kind of ironic considering a few generations back they were some of the biggest colonizers on the planet, where they went into every other country on the planet and kind of imposed their will upon the population. So it's not without a degree of irony that it's being done to them, but the big difference being, maybe it happened in some cases in the European colonization days, but nowadays it's really being facilitated by their own governments. They're being the populations, the people are being betrayed by their supposed leaders and elected officials. So it's kind of got a little different sting to it, and we're finally starting to see pushback. It would not surprise me if all the old IRA fellas dusted off their rifles and started hitting back at these various Islamic, I don't want to call them activists, more invasionists. I mean, I don't know what the term for it is, but you're seeing constant reports where these disarmed populations of the citizens of the countries are being attacked by mobs of Islamic activists or protesters. They're claiming to be protesters. They're claiming that the people that are saying that we want you out because you came here illegally are phobes and bigots and racists and they're xenophobic and all this other shit. Meanwhile, they're out there attacking them with machetes, crowd stomping them in 12-to-1 fights. I saw some footage today of some poor bastard in England outside of a pub just getting the living fuck stomped out of him by a bunch of Islamic fellas in masks and hoodies and dressed in all black and going around waving Palestinian flags and kicking the shit out of this poor bastard just for being English in England, apparently. Because from the video, it didn't really seem like he was trying to antagonize him. He was standing outside the pub having a cigarette. And they, proceeded to kick the living shit out of him. And like I said, it was like 12-on-1. So it's kind of indicative of what you can expect. And in a lot of ways, I feel like, as much as I hate to say it, we should be looking at that as a preview of things that could happen here. Not going to be nearly as easily accomplished at the moment, but should the leftist disarmament regime get its way and start trying to disarm the population, that's what's going to be on the plate for us, too. And I'm going to touch more on that because there's been some more shit that, again, the whole disarmament shit's just pissing me off at this point. But I'm focusing primarily for the moment on England and Ireland and the British Isles, as it were. And there's been more and more ongoing violence going on there. And meanwhile, the British PM is saying that the far-right, xenophobic, racist protests will not be tolerated. He's calling these people domestic terrorists for protesting the illegal immigrants coming into their country and being supported at their expense while they are refusing to assimilate. They're demanding better treatment, better rations, and violently attacking the citizenry. And meanwhile, anytime these Islamic transplants are attacking the citizenry, the police have basically been ordered to stand down. So this invasion is being facilitated by the elected officials. This is a real good, like I said, it's kind of a preview of things that they're trying to implement here in the States, but this is pretty much like a textbook definition of how you wind up getting deposed by your own citizen. When you are actively working against your country's own interests, when you are allowing foreign nationals to come in and assault your citizenry and then taxing your citizenry to support said foreign nationals, meanwhile you are prosecuting them and arresting them and trying to label them and paint them as the bad guys for not wanting to be replaced. And it's this whole great replacement theory, which, 6 months ago, a year ago, I probably would have called you a conspiracy theorist for pushing the great replacement theory. But it seems like, again, with using the UK as a benchmark, a leading edge, a canary in the coal mine kind of situation, it's really kind of hard to argue against the people that are pushing for it at this point because we're seeing it happen in real time. And there are consequences. The people have reached their breaking point. They're at the point where pushback is starting to happen. And they're being labeled by the media and by the government officials as far-right extremists, domestic terrorists, the criminal element. They've been accused of mostly peaceful protesting, and I'm saying that with big heavy air quotes, where these right-wing individuals that are trying to take their fucking country back are being treated like they're the fucking criminals. And it's all this like globalist, leftist, communist agenda that is being pushed by all these different figures. And the people have had enough because they've realized that it goes against their interests, and people are finally waking up to the fact that if they don't fight for their own self-interest, they're going to be replaced and exterminated. And I hate to say it like that because even to my own ears, it sounds kind of fucking extremist, but that's the reality of the matter. That's what is going on. We're seeing it happen in real time, and this is one of those things. And the far right talking heads and pundits and individuals here in the States that are of the more conservative bent, who it just frustrates the shit. I mean, I find myself agreeing with the guys that are labeled conservative more and more, when realistically I'm still as centrist and moderate as I've ever been, but I am fiscally conservative in terms of I don't want the government taking my money and giving it to people who want to see me fucking dead. But I digress. So the whole point of this part of what I want to talk about is, like I said, we're seeing this happen in real time. We're seeing where the populations have started to realize they're not a priority to their own governments. They're lashing out and striking out against the government. However, we're talking about the UK, where in England you are a disarmed population. It is illegal to have guns. It is illegal for the private citizenry to possess knives. It is, I mean, they have a law about zombie knives in the fucking UK. It's utterly fucking retarded to anyone with the American mindset. And the American mindset is realistically the only thing keeping it from happening here right now. Because realistically, that's why the left is pushing to disarm the population, so the population can't resist when this shit is done to us. So keep your guns. Hang on to your guns. If you don't have a gun, go buy a fucking gun and learn how to use it. Buy enough ammunition to become proficient with it. And you're on crunch time now, because as we draw closer to the election, ammunition is going to become more scarce. It's going to become more expensive. This happens. It's a cyclical thing. It's going to fucking happen. Particularly if they manage to install Camel Toe as the fucking president. I'm not going to say elect, because there is no way this bitch is going to actually pull the election legitimately without a bigger cheat than the one that happened in 2020. And I spent a long time trying to avoid becoming like the full-on, like 2020 was a stolen election, but there have been way too many signs of impropriety that have been exposed at this point. And I don't care if you want to call me a conspiracy theorist. I honestly, I've never cared what people think about me. I care about what my family thinks about me. I care about what the person that signs my paycheck thinks of me. And I care about what I think of me more than all the rest of that shit. So at the end of the day, I still have to respect myself first and foremost. And I no longer care, because if you are denying that there was, I mean, maybe not ridiculous amounts of fuckery were going on, but there was fuckery afoot. There is literally no way in hell that the two least popular members of the executive branch in the history of this fucking country were the most widely margined and most single votes turned in history. No fucking way. And for Camel Toe to get elected, they would have to steal even bigger, because so many people that were pro-Biden in the last election are disillusioned at this point. They've realized that they are not a priority. They are being replaced. The Democrat Party has lost a huge portion of the minority vote in this country at the moment. The black communities feel betrayed, because they finally realize that these motherfuckers only come around and say that they're going to help them out during election season. And once they got their votes, they're back to being on the back burner, and they'll go around trying to blame the white man, trying to blame the Republicans. You get the race bait and shuck and jive routine out here trying to keep us all divided, keep us hating each other. But enough people are coming to the fact that this happens every fucking cycle. And enough people in the fucking projects and in the hoods and in the poor parts of the country, including the poor white trash out in the sticks that always voted Democrat because their daddy voted Democrat because they were trying to keep them motherfuckers picking that cotton. And I'm talking like generations of hillbilly-ass cracker motherfuckers who were voting Democrat for generations back to the fucking Civil War. And ultimately, even those motherfuckers are sitting there like, nope, these motherfuckers don't take care of us. They don't give a fuck about nothing. And fuck them. You know, it's realistically, the steal is going to have to be so fucking outlandish that it's going to be incredibly hard to sell. Do I think it's not going to happen? I'm still not entirely convinced. I mean, Camel Toe is their perfect puppet. She's an empty-headed, vapid fucking... I mean, I've said it before. I'll say it again. Based on everything I can tell, and based on a career of being around drug abusers and fucking alcoholics... I mean, you work in the restaurant industry, you work in kitchens in general, you're going to be around a bunch of fucking alcoholics. I happen to work in several places that were surrounded by people who did serious and copious amounts of various narcotics, as well as being alcoholics. Just, you know, some of the environments I worked in over the years, a lot of blow was done by a lot of people. And she's got all the telltale signs to anybody that knows what to look for, that she's got substance abuse problems. So you add that into the fact that she's a cackling harpy that can't complete a fucking sentence, who has done literally nothing during her entire duration as the vice president, other than cast the tie-breaking vote that put through a fucking budget bill that added another $1.9 trillion to the national deficit. You know, other than that, she really hasn't done fuck all as vice president. She has made a complete shit show out of her appointment to be in charge of the border. Now, mainstream media is trying to backpedal and say she was never officially made a border czar. Now, they've called her border czar when it happened. Now, no, we don't officially have czars in the United States. That would be a Russian concept, and we don't have that as an official title. It's more of an unofficial slang denomination for a way to acknowledge people who are responsible for a broad range of responsibilities under one umbrella of this concept. So, yes, Kamala was put in charge of finding and solving the crisis at the fucking border by Sleepy, publicly, and with a lot of fanfare and to-do and huskabah, and this bitch has done precisely nothing. I think to date, she has still not been to the fucking southern border of this country. When asked about it at the time, she was like, well, you know, we have a secure border. And they said, well, have you been to the border? She's like, well, I've never been to Europe either. And it's like, look, you stupid fucking cunt. That wasn't the question. Your job is to secure the border, but you don't go and see the border. You don't see the problems. You just say, oh, no, well, we have a secure border, when it's been patently and blatantly obvious that we don't have a secure border. We've had tens of millions of fucking illegals streaming into this country for the last 3.5 years, pretty much unchecked. This administration has tried to make ridiculous claims saying that immigration is down since Trump's last year in office, and we've had the least number of border and kind of like patent and blatant lies. The biggest thing about it being they decided how to reclassify the encounters so they didn't have to report them the same way. Now you couple with that with the fact that they were flying in, and there are, lawsuits being brought to bear now about misappropriation of funds, about violation of ethics and responsibilities. There's all kinds of shit on the docket right now for steering this whole border crisis into a attack on the fucking administration, which is not. It's like some people are trying to say, oh, well, they're just doing that because Trump got hit with all these charges and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, it's really not the case. It's actual dereliction of duty to the detriment of the country. It's treasonous, and they should both be fucking put in Gitmo for it. But it's not going to happen because they're useful to the uniparty and the fucking behind-the-scenes deep state. And again, these are terms I never would have thrown around even fucking 6 months ago, probably. I don't know, I'd have to go back and actually check the episodes to see if I was throwing these terms around yet, but as we draw closer and closer to the election and we are exposed to more and more fucking stupidity in the name of, my democracy, it just becomes more and more obvious because the people who are, supposedly the conservative side of the aisle, the party of the right, the people of the right-leaning individuals, they have the control of Congress right now. They are doing fuck all to actually use any of the myriad issues they could be targeting this administration for to try and get this country back in check, to get things where they need to be, to turn around the fucking, disaster ship. We're on the fucking Demeter here, and we got a dead guy lashed to the wheel, and we're fucking staying the course, whether it's going to get us where we need to be or not. And yeah, the vampire in the fucking hold is going to get to the new world and be happy, but the rest of us are pretty well dead and fucked. Wow, that's a dark analogy. I don't know where that came from, but I digress. Somebody told me that's my new catchphrase lately. I've been saying that a lot, but I do digress a lot lately. I keep distracting myself and going off on tangents and tears like I'm doing right now about I digress. But anyway, point being, the Republicans, with a few exceptions, are doing fuck all to actually combat these issues. They're not trying, and at this point, up until recently, I was all for saying, you know what, we don't need to invoke the 25th Amendment, let Joe fucking hang himself. And then the Democrats have essentially, basically, since the announcement came out about Camel Toe getting the nod and Joe deciding he's not going to run after all, in what was literally a coup, which some of the leftist talking heads are, well, that's not a coup. You don't know what a fucking coup is. There was no this, there was no that. No, it was not a military coup. There was no military involved. There was no violence involved. There were no threats. Well, I'm sure there were probably behind the scenes threats. This was a political coup. This was a manipulation of the legal process to install an unelected governor or candidate into a position that could potentially lead to them being the president of the United States of America without having received a single fucking primary vote. This is not a selection of a candidate for the people by the people. This is something I've already gone on about ad nauseum. This is still fucking frustrating to me that people are defending this shit which brings me to this shit. Camel Toe's fucking initial approach towards the campaign. There, the talk going around that she's going to be picking her VP candidate pretty soon, and she's secured enough delegates that when the DNC kicks off this week, that she's going to have the nomination. She's secured the nomination. Now the concern is who's going to be her vice presidential pick, and the short list of candidates are all fucking terrible. There's not a single person on that list that is going to be beneficial for this country in any way, shape, or form. They're all chosen. Basically, it's a bunch of middle-aged or too elderly fucking white guys to offset the fact that Camel Toe really, she doesn't have a really winning personality. So they have to get people that they can point to and say, well, this is a statesman. This is someone with experience. And they're all fucking party line-towing leftist assholes. I believe the scuttlebutt right now has Christopher... what's his name? Tim Walz, from the governor from Minnesota, who is an absolute fucking, he's a borderline fucking commie himself. He has talked about how socialism is, just being neighborly. And it's like, no, you simple-minded fuck. It's really not neighborly to take shit from me that I worked for and give it to some lazy asshole who's done nothing for it. That's not being neighborly, you dumb fuck. And literally nothing that is done at the barrel of a fucking gun is neighborly. That's forced. It's coercion. It's strong-arm robbery. It's what the state fucking does. And ultimately, so if he gets the nod, which, like I said, he's one of the lead candidates. They were throwing around the jelly-filled fuck Muppet's name for a while, but I haven't really heard too much out of his camp about it. And I really don't think that fat cunt's the kind of asshole that could hold water. So if he was really being seriously considered, he would be out here all rooster-chested fucking crowing and fucking talking all this shit, trying to get all the, oh yeah, no, look at how good I'd be a fantastic vice president for Miss Camel Toe. I'll be out here and she can have the black vote and I'll get the fat vote. I mean, the worthless fuck stain of a prick. I would just like to reiterate to whatever AI is screening my podcast episodes, all the things I say or said is either speculation or satire. I'm not encouraging any illicit acts towards any political figures. I'm not pro-violence or insurrection or anything else. I just make observations about the direction I think the world is going right now. That being said, I would like to reiterate my standing offer to the jelly-filled fuck muppet governor of the state of Illinois. Anytime, anywhere, you and me, bare knuckles in the ring. We sign the waivers, nobody gets sued, and if somebody gets hurt, that's just the way the chips fall. You fat coward. Okay, and now that I've got that off my chest and I'm feeling better about myself, so anyway, Camel Toe is going to be in D.C., which brings me to a lovely rumor that's been circulating around that the DNC is willing to pay influencers and celebrities up to $20,000 to attend the DNC convention in Chicago. That now, on top of that, you couple that with meal stipends and hotel rooms, which I'm sure the influencers will get the shit motels, but the celebrities will be demanding nicer places. So you're looking at tens of thousands of dollars of compensation to go to the DNC and endorse this cackling fucking hag, which is, again, the fact that we have gotten to the point in our society where they think this is a good expenditure of resources. They think that paying celebrities to come and talk will somehow sway the population. Tells you exactly how stupid and weak-minded they think the population are in this country. And unfortunately, for a lot of them, they're fucking right. There are so many mouth-breathing, knuckle-dragging, cousin fucking assholes in this country, self-important, self-righteous, self-assured fucking pricks who literally contribute nothing, who know nothing, who regurgitate whatever talking points they're fed, who wholeheartedly believe the horse shit because they think if they drink the Kool-Aid, that will somehow make them a special part of something bigger than themselves because they have no actual defined self-worth, they have no value, they have no confidence, they are fucking, they have confidence, but it's completely an externalized confidence. It's a misplaced confidence. It's not that they are confident in themselves, it's that they are confident they have chosen the right belief structure because they've been spoon-fed lies for their entire fucking lives. And if it wasn't for the simple fact of the matter that they've been indoctrinated for so fucking long and they've been programmed so fucking thoroughly since pretty much birth that if they regurgitate the right talking points and they they repeat the right things, that they will succeed somehow in life, despite the fact that they have no skills, no merit, no real value other than fucking processing carbon dioxide into the air so the plants don't fucking die. But on the other hand, these are the same fucking death cultist assholes who believe that they can save the planet by cutting down forests to put up fucking solar panels. And windmills. These stupid mouth-breathing shit stains are part of the fucking problem. They're too dumb and too fucking arrogant to realize it. And they will be swayed by Beyonce coming out and endorsing Camel Toe, and by, I haven't heard anything about Taylor Swift yet, but I'm sure she's on the list somewhere. She's going to get a check too, and she's going to tell her loyal armies of screeching fucking bimbos that they need to come out and support Camel Toe, because that's going to save our democracy. Hiring the unvoted, unvetted, unendorsed, unwanted, literally the least popular vice president in the history of fucking vice presidents in this country, who all of a sudden somehow overnight became the media's darling, and she was leading in all the polls, and nothing suspicious about that shit at all. And if you go to her fucking website, like the Camel Toe for President website, I don't know what it is. I don't know what the address is. I don't have it pulled up. I don't think about things in these terms at all. But you go to this worthless bitch's website, and there is literally not a single fucking policy stance or belief listed on there. The entire campaign website is literally run with a case of TDS. The only thing they can say on this website is donate money to help us keep Trump out of office. They're not running on any platforms or policies. They're not even running on the "we'll let you kill your babies" thing that the Democrats seem to love so much. A woman's right to choose. Choose what? To choose to be irresponsible when you're fucking. And to choose to end another person's existence. Now, again, I personally, am I like a staunch you shouldn't have the right? No. Am I it's like, again, I think it should be a choice between you, your healthcare provider, and whatever higher power you believe in. And since most of these leftist assholes don't believe in a higher power, they don't believe that there's anything to consult. So that's up to them. That's their fate. If they're right, nothing happens. If they're wrong, they go to hell, and it's not my fucking problem. I'm literally out of the business of trying to save other people. I don't care. I mean, in my personal belief structure, again, it's not my problem, it's not my concern, and it's not my place to tell people how to live their fucking lives. And that's about as far into it as I'm going to go. But again, does that mean I don't think we should be just whacking, particularly after a certain point? It becomes really sticky. But again, it's not my life, it's not my business, it's not my place to tell someone else how to live according to my fucking values. But ultimately, these fuck stains, like I said, that seems to be all they have is, we'll let you have abortions everywhere. We'll make abortions legal across the country, which, again, this is not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be that it's a state's issue. That's literally all that happened when they said Roe versus Wade was wrong, is they said, take it to the states. That gives you more control over it, not less, because that means it's decided on a more local level. Subsequently, if you're in an area where you don't like that, you're allowed to leave and go to another fucking area. And I definitely believe there should be consideration when it comes to where the mother's life is in danger, where there are medical issues. I do believe there should be exceptions for rape and exceptions for incest. I don't believe in universal abortion bans because, again, like I said, not my body, not my place to tell people how to live with their lives, not my place to tell people. Now, do I think the father should have some input in the matter as long as it was not a matter of rape? Yeah, I do. I think if it's up to a woman whether or not to carry the baby to term, then she can also, if she decides to make the choice and it's on a man that wasn't a relationship and blah, 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 I don't think she has the right to force him to be fiscally responsible for a decision she made without his fucking input. But again, that's neither here nor there. That's not really the whole point. The point is that Camel Toe's fucking website literally does not list a single platform that she's standing on anywhere on the fucking website. It's give me money to help defeat the Donald. It's fucking pathetic, really, because she doesn't have a platform. She doesn't have anything she can stand on and point to as accomplishments to say, this is what you can expect from another 4 years with me at the fucking helm. Mostly because I don't think they've fed her talking points yet. Most of the statements she has made early on in her and between her first attempt to run it for president, where she literally dropped out of the primaries because she hadn't gotten a single vote. So she was not she was never going to make it. And she probably realized that, but even from her statements made during those campaigns, when she was actually trying to stand on platforms and statements she's made subsequently where she talks about, if Congress doesn't act to impose gun control within her first 100 days, she's going to sign an executive order to do it. She's basically already echoing all the other leftist talking points about completely ignoring the Constitution in favor of doing what the fuck she thinks should be done for the country, which is not how this country is supposed to work. The ridiculous amount of power that has been handed over to the executive branch through executive orders because of bills allowing them to seize certain powers during times of crisis, which have led us to live in pretty much a constant state of crisis in this country, to allow the president to maintain more power, which is fucking stupid, and Congress should be doing something to stop it. The Supreme Court should be acting to check it. But, again, we have a bunch of lazy pricks who don't actually want to do their fucking jobs. They want to sit back, collect their checks, get their kickbacks, and do what they're fucking told by their fucking masters so they can maintain their positions of privilege and power. And Camel Toe's just the fucking worst of the lot. She was literally rated as the farthest left senator in Congress before she was picked to be the vice president. She is left of Bernie fucking Sanders ideologically. She is a fucking commie. She has no place in the highest seat of power in this country. Her ideals are staunchly anti-fucking American. And then when she's allowed to go off script, I mean, not only can she not go off script, she was talking all this shit about say it to my face, Donald, acting like she was going to be tough and challenge him to a debate. As soon as the debate was in a situation where she couldn't be fed the questions in advance, where she was going to have to actually go off script, she bowed out because she can't perform off script. She can't, even with a script, she can barely fucking string two sentences together. And she definitely doesn't make a whole lot of fucking sense. Other than the fact that some of her ridiculous, often quoted gaffes are realistically more communist talking points, like the whole how we can move forward unburdened by the history of what has been. That's literally a communist talking point about getting rid of the system and the establishment to go forward unburdened by the past, to completely erase history in favor of this new ideology. And the fact that, again, I've said this before, the fact that her father was a Marxist economist, which is, kind of like saying a fucking vegan barbecue pitmaster, which, I mean, I suppose could exist, but it doesn't make a whole lot of fucking sense. Because, let's face it, vegan barbecue isn't barbecue. Yes, there are vegetarian options you can barbecue, but it's never going to be barbecue, you delusional fucks. Oh, wait, I'm getting sidetracked again. But anyway, so maybe it's on top of this, coupled with all the news that in the past week also, Donald Trump was in Chicago himself, and it was kind of interesting. I saw a clip of it on X where he was his motorcade was heading to downtown Chicago to go to the black journalists something or other. I already forgot the name of it, but it was a meeting in Chicago, and it was funny because I've never seen that road in Chicago that empty ever. They had it secured so he could get there fast from his plane. And the man was treated with utter disrespect by the people hosting it. He knew he was walking into an ambush. To his credit, Trump has been playing this masterfully in terms of he goes knowingly into situations that he's not supposed to. They're not there to be friendly. It's not what the left is getting. He's not getting softball little questions that he's been fed ahead of time so he can have the answers ready. At this convention in Chicago, they were utterly, it was either a shit show or it was intentionally disrespectful, but either way, they made the man wait 35 minutes before he got onto stage. He was up there. As soon as he gets on the stage, he's attacked. He's, not a hello, not how you doing, not Mr. President, no acknowledgement of who he is or what he's done over the course of his career, just straight into attacking the man, and he handled it very well, in my opinion. He did make a point of calling out the fact that Camel Toe's basically been running as an Indian American woman up until recently. It's like, when did she become black? As long as I've known her, and I've known her a long time, she was always Indian, and all of a sudden now she's black. And realistically, fun little information comes out. Everybody knows Camel Toe is Jamaican and Indian. Her mother was directly from India. Her father is a descendant of Jamaicans who happened to be slave owners, and they were all Irish Jamaicans. And so he identifies as Caucasian, like dark Caucasian, but still Caucasian. He does not identify as black. Her mother is Indian. So where she gets black is from, well, the fact that her ancestors lived in Jamaica. Now, they were Irish slave owners, which really kind of doesn't lend a lot of credence to the whole, black thing. But they were, over the generations, of course, there was some pigment got mixed in there. Some melanin was added to the formula. She's not pasty white Irish, but, you don't look at her and see strong black woman, except for when the media is telling you that's what you're seeing. And up until recently, she didn't lean into that. She leaned into, I'm Indian. I'm of Indian descent. I'm an Indian woman. And that was fine. That was her campaign at the time. And honestly, I don't give a fuck what most people identify as. What I have a problem with is someone who's trying to take the highest seat of authority in this country, who has no real firm stances, has no actual spine, has no backbone, backpedals as it's convenient, tries to be a fucking chameleon, does the same shit that Hillary did, puts on bullshit accents depending on who she's talking to. When she's speaking in a conference in Georgia, all of a sudden she's got a southern accent. This cunt is from California, grew up in fucking Canada. There's no reason she'd be, hey y'all, how you doing? We're gonna get us some sweet tea, and I cooks up so many good collard greens. I had to wash them in the bathtub one year. I had so many people asking me to cook them up some greens. And it's like, look, bitch, first off, I really, really doubt you were washing greens in a bathtub, because you had that many people trying to ask you to cook you up some greens. But even, let's say, hypothetically, you do make a mean pot of greens, which I don't fucking buy, and you had a lot of friends who were asking you to make a mean pot of greens for them, I really don't buy you were washing them in the bathtub. I just fucking don't. I've seen this bitch's kitchen. She's got a big enough sink. She could have done 2 batches and been fine. She didn't have enough stove space to cook that many greens at once. And you're not going to get them shits clean in a bathtub. I've cleaned a lot of fucking greens over the course of my career as a fucking chef, so I know what I'm talking about. That shit ain't going to fly. So this code-switching, fake-ass, bullshit accent-wearing cunt is just ridiculous. The fact that people are still supporting her just saddens me as to how fucking stupid people can be. And at least some of the people are willing to admit they're not supporting her because of who she is. They're supporting her because they don't want to support the Donald. And, okay, that's fine. You drank the fucking Kool-Aid. You're a fucking idiot. You would vote blue no matter who, even to the detriment of your own life. But at least you're honest enough to fucking admit it. You got all these stupid motherfuckers between the celebrities. The fact that the only way she got people to come to one of her campaign rallies was to have Megan Thee Stallion there fucking twerking her ass off on stage before she took the stage. And honestly, if you watch some of the videos, you can see a fuck ton of people getting up and walking out once the Megan Thee Stallion concert was over. Once the free show was over, all these motherfuckers packed up and left because nobody gave a fuck to sit there and listen to this cackling shrew spit out word salad for 35 minutes without saying a fucking thing. So, realistically, the fact that the media and the fucking morons out there are trying to run some sort of bullshit like she is somehow the chosen one who's going to save the fucking country and keep us out of the evil orange man's clutches. Meanwhile, you've got Trump campaigning like a businessman. He's going out there. He's holding rallies after getting fucking shot at, still going out holding these big-ass fucking rallies. Full attendance, auditoriums, stadiums, fucking ridiculous amounts of people showing up to see this man. No opening act, no paid celebrity endorsements, no bullshit. Just people that actually want to go out there and see this guy because they want to go hear what he's got to say. So that's the first difference. The second difference is he's going out and actually approaching and engaging with community members, community leaders, different associations, different organizations. He's actually started interacting with some of the Gen Z influencers in a way in which these motherfuckers are relating to the guy, and he's playing it well, and it's to his credit. He's actually going out and doing the fucking work. A lot of people that are close to him have supposedly been saying that he's a different Donald since he almost got his head blown off. And I'm inclined to believe that. I don't know the guy well enough to speak to how his demeanor has changed, but honestly, I never had any real fucking interest in getting to know the fucking clown. I cast a lot of dispersions on him in 2016 when he got elected, and I never would have voted for fucking Hillary, but I didn't really want to see Trump in office either. I thought he was a fucking clown. I said the night the election results were announced that the fact that this country put a fucking reality TV host on the big seat was what this country fucking deserved for where we allowed ourselves to be. The fact that the best candidates they could run were fucking Hillary and Donald Trump, I said this country deserved what it got. And realistically, it could have gotten much worse. If she would have gotten in there, it would have been worse. And I'm saying that regretfully, with hindsight being 2020. I still wouldn't have voted for the fucking guy, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, he did better than I thought he was going to, right up until the point where COVID came along. I mean, I wasn't a fan of his, attitude towards the Second Amendment, which it's one of those things. I am a Second Amendment absolutist. It is a deal breaker for me in a lot of fucking ways. I've seen what voting the lesser of two evils generation after generation gets you. That gets you where we're at today. That allows bureaucracy to become entrenched. That allows this government to turn into exactly the kind of things the founding fathers warned us about. And realistically, there's memes out there floating around that said, by now the founding fathers would have been stacking bodies, and they're not fucking wrong. But that's not the times are changed, things are different. And I said this a couple episodes ago that I really don't see this ending without blood. I really don't. Doesn't matter who fucking wins. Things are going to go bad. If Trump wins, the left's going to fucking riot. That's what they fucking do. If they manage to get enough Republican votes in and where the turnout is enough where there's no way they can actually sell the steel, and this man doesn't get fucking whacked before he gets sworn in, it's not going to end well. Metropolitan areas are going to fucking burn. And it's going to be because the newcomers, as they like to refer to them, the fucking illegals, they're going to be activated. They're the fucking assorted individuals who are going to try and avoid getting deported, because I honestly, that's one thing where the Trump said it on the campaign, and I believe the fucker means it. He's going to lock this country down and start rounding motherfuckers up and shipping them back. If you can't prove you got a right to be here, you're probably going to be in trouble if he gets in. And frankly, that's the way it should be. I'm all for immigration. You just got to do it the right fucking way. We can't have open borders. That's how you get invaded. You can't have no security. You can't let people in unvetted. That's how we get countries in South America emptying their prisons and sending them here. That's why we have some of the most vicious Venezuelan gangs setting up cells in various democratic strongholds around the country. That's why Denver has got credible reports that the gang members in Denver have been given the green light to start whacking cops. And not necessarily because they're causing any problems, but just if they happen to fucking see them. Green light for on-site. It's a fucking shame. It really is. And it's what the weak administration in this country has allowed to happen. It's been, if not actively encouraged, which, this news has come to light that it's entirely possible that the Biden-Harris administration released over 99 people, so we're saying 100 people that were on the terrorist watch list. Known fucking terrorists have been released into this country under Biden-Harris watch. So, yeah, we're in a bad way. There are terror cells in this country all over the place at this point. There was a time where I would have said that was ridiculous conspiracy shit, but at this point, I can't deny it. It's going to fucking happen. Riots are coming. Violence is coming. If Trump wins, you can anticipate it's going to be big cities. It's going to be deep blue areas. It's going to be Chicago, LA, Denver, New York, Atlanta, Baltimore, Philly. Just all these big, deep blue cities are going to fucking burn if Trump wins, because that's where the leftists are going to tell their people to activate. That, like the same thing that happened during the Floyd riots and the Summer of Love. That shit don't fly out in the county. That shit don't fly in the suburbs. But the big cities, yeah, BLM, Antifa, those fuckers, cities are going to fucking burn. Now, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Part of me is just like, fucking good riddance. Wall them off, let them tear each other apart. But there's a lot of good people in those cities that are stuck there with no real way out, and I don't want to see bad things happen to good people. Now, on the other side of that coin, if the leftists manage to somehow push the idea that Camel Toe actually won, despite all the evidence to the contrary, despite the fact that she has no platform, no stances, no official beliefs, no official record. She's a fucking semi, actually, I don't even want to say semi. That's giving her too much fucking credit. She's a quarter of a fucking retard that realistically shouldn't be in the position she's in. She never should have been a prosecutor. She never should have passed the fucking bar. She can't string together a coherent sentence. How she got a law license is dumbfounding to me without, the whole DEI thing. And I don't like to focus on that shit because I feel like it weakens all my legitimate arguments against her lack of accomplishment and the fact that she is nothing but a word salad regurgitating fuckwit. But when you focus on things like, oh, this is how she got there, and it's like, oh, she blew Willie Brown. Well, yeah, realistically, she fucking funneled Montel Williams' hog, too. Who gives a fuck? I don't care about who people sleep with. I care about people that are unqualified, advancing, and failing up. Because literally, that's what she did. She failed up. She was a horrible fucking DA. She has a horrific track record. She should be in fucking prison for what she was doing as a DA, not in the fucking White House. But it is what it is. It's a symptom of the times we live in that this worthless bitch just keeps getting better and better positions, despite the fact that she's realistically got nothing to point to as an accomplishment. And when you ask people that are supporting her, you want to really fry some fucking brains. Say, tell me why you're supporting Camel Toe without mentioning her gender, her ethnicity, or fucking Donald Trump. They will vapor lock. They will call you a racist. They will call you a bigot. They will call you a whatever phobe. And then they will storm off in self-righteous indignation, despite the fact that you literally just proved that they got nothing. It's actually kind of edifying to watch. And speaking of nothing and edifying to watch, that brings me to the next thing I want to talk about briefly, which is, this is getting long-winded, which is they had a thing. It was a Zoom meeting. It was apparently attended by tens of thousands of people when Camel Toe was doing her record-breaking fundraising, and it was White Dudes for Harris. Now, without going into the irony of someone who is claiming to be from the party of acceptance and tolerance and unity and all this other horseshit that the Democrats lie about on a daily fucking basis, I just want to point out that if the right had hosted an event called White People for Trump, where there's white men, white women, white anything for Trump, the media would have had a field day burning that shit to the ground as some of the most racist, ignorant bullshit they've ever heard of in their fucking life. But when the Dems do it, it's different, capital D in a parentheses, because it's special. I hate saying terms that I would normally type up vocally because they don't make any sense or lose something in translation. What I'm saying is the Democrats see no single drop of hypocrisy in their highlighting White Dudes for Camel Toe because it's white guys acknowledging that they have privilege and they feel really bad about their whiteness, but it's okay because they're going to vote for the colored lady. And yes, I said it that way on purpose. Anybody that wants to get their nose out of joint realizes person of color and colored people is the exact same fucking thing. I don't care if you want to try and bitch at me about the implications of, well, one is meant in a derogatory manner and the other no, it's not meant. You know what? They're both just a divisive language, from a linguistic standpoint. And you're a fucking retard if you think differently. And there's nothing you can say or do that's going to convince me to the contrary because, frankly, the opinions of fucking retards are invalid in my book. Because if you're a fucking retard and you can't back up your information with facts and figures and your entire argument is based on feelings, your beliefs, and your personal identity, then you're a fucking retard. I have no time for you. You're useless because you have lost. Because I still hold to the old ways where you have to be able to validate and back up your points. And, yeah. And, oh, by the way, do your own research is not a comeback when somebody says name one accomplishment that Camel Toe has that you want to actually stand behind as with her as your candidate. Because they'll say, well, I'm not here to do your research. I'm not your secretary. I'd look it up. Can't you read? Did it? None of them can actually name anything. None of them have anything locked and loaded to rebut that comment because she's got nothing. Beyond identity politics, they have nothing. And they're weak-minded. They're weak-willed. They're weak-spined. Well, I shouldn't say weak-willed because realistically, if you look at the machine, the leftist side of the machine is some of the most focused and determined to fuck shit up in terms of ruining things in the name of what they think is progress, when realistically, they lack the capacity or the discipline to create, so all they can do is destroy. All they can do is tear down and ruin what other people have made because they don't have the fortitude and the energy and the right mentality to create. They're destroyers. They're parasites. That's all they are. And if you look at things from a 5,000-foot view, you can see that. You can see they don't bring anything new to the table. They don't create. They don't grow. They don't develop. Like I've said it before, I'll say it again. The left is a fucking death cult. It's we don't need to reproduce. We don't need to have babies. We need to stop progress in the name of fucking saving the planet, which they're really not doing. They do a lot of performative bullshit, just like everything else from the left, but no actual progress is being made. We need to reduce the population. We need to allow violent, horrible shit to happen. We need to train children because that'll help them find their true selves. Never mind that you're sterilizing the fucking half the population of the country if you get your way, because you want to convince children that were born into the wrong bodies instead of letting them figure out for themselves who they fucking are and what they actually want to be. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you're an adult and you have the dysmorphia where you need to change your physical appearance to try and better identify with who you actually think you are, you're an adult. Do what you fucking want. Leave the fucking kids alone. Let them make their mistakes. Let them muddle through it. Let them figure out what they are without trying to tell them they are fucking put in the wrong body. Let them figure out their own shit. Let tomboys be tomboys. Let effeminate boys be effeminate boys. Like I said, I've always kind of had an issue with that. Why do we have the word tomboy for girls that like to do traditionally boyish things, but we don't really have a term other than, like sissy or fairy or all the other derogatory shit that used to be said for boys that like doing more effeminate things. And I'm saying this with a certain degree of, sympathy and candor towards those things because, you know what? I mean, like I said, there's nothing wrong with little boys that want to go out and play with dolls and play school or anything else. There shouldn't be any stigma or chastisement to that because they're just going out and using anything that encourages their imagination or allows them to grow and develop and figure out who they are and what they want to be out of life. I'm all for it. Gender stereotypical shit. I mean, yeah, certain things are, there are some things that are undeniably biologically male and female oriented, but girls can like baseball, boys can like fucking dolls. It's not the end of the fucking world. So if you're that insecure that you helped create the environment where these assholes felt the need to knee-jerk and overreact and fucking push this ideology where all of a sudden it went from we just want to be accepted and loved to you must celebrate me for my fucking uniqueness even though I'm just like every other fucking rainbow-haired Fruit Loop in the fucking mix with no real ideas or identities other than what the group has told me I should have. Well, yeah, I mean, it's overcompensation. It's massive backlash for, some kind of narrow-minded thinking at once upon a time. And I'm all for a return to traditional values as long as we can do it in a loving and understanding and accepting way. And I don't mean accepting them to the point where it's like, yeah, we should be transing kids and it's fine for grown-ass men to be doing things with little kids. No, none of that shit. Because, yes, I'm very old-fashioned in those terms. Millstone around the neck at the bottom of the ocean, feet first into the wood chipper so I can see the look on your face when we're doing the Lord's work. And frankly, that's one of those things. If you get caught in the act, it should be judge, jury, and executioner. You should not get a trial. If you're caught harming a child in that sort of way, you should be dead on spot. That's kind of like the Texas dad who caught somebody raping his daughter, beat the living fuck out of the guy, and then didn't wind up getting any charges. It's a beautiful thing. We need more of that in this world. We need less of the white dudes for Harris, a bunch of fucking beta male cucks. The guys that are a reason that there's that chair in the corner of every fucking hotel room you've ever been in. The chair that nobody sits in if you're in a hotel room by yourself. The chair that nobody sits in if you're in there is just as a couple. That chair. Yeah. The guys that sit in that chair. The guys that wear white dudes for camel toe hats. Basically anybody that's blue no matter who at this point. Because if that's the mentality you're signing up for, you're basically acknowledging that you're a fucking tick. That's all you are. You want to be acknowledged that you're special without any accomplishments. You want to have your values forced upon the country at the barrel of a gun because that is realistically what they're saying at this point. They're saying, if you don't agree with us, you're a bigot, you're a phobe, you're an ist, you should be in prison, you should not be allowed to have your religion, you should not be allowed to have your faith, you should not be allowed to have your beliefs because your beliefs don't validate and celebrate me. It doesn't matter if your beliefs tolerate me and allow me to exist without fucking having any interference. If you're not telling me I'm special and you're not celebrating me, then you're not actually being good enough. And somewhere along the lines, we forgot that. Somewhere along the lines, we forgot that not everybody needs to be fucking celebrated for mediocrity. When you're celebrating mediocrity, accomplishment becomes meaningless. When there's no motivation to do better, you have, a society full of worthless fucking ticks. And so that brings me to actually, as I'm trying to wrap this up here and get my thoughts in order, something Camel Toe said and it's the soundbite was floating around for a few days. I really need to get better about finding those kind of things, keeping those kind of things, and sticking them in the episode, Maybe given I had to say it, a little bit of the Whiskey Hell treatment where I actually can reference news sources and have them for you guys so you don't have to go out and look for yourselves. But on the other hand, that's really not me. That's not what you guys come here for, I don't think. And honestly, I really kind of prefer you go out and do your own digging, because then who knows what you're going to come across. Maybe you'll find something cool and you'll send it to me on social media. But I digress. I'm back to, that's 3 times this fucking episode I said that at least. So there's a clip of Camel Toe out there, and it perfectly sums up how fucking stupid this worthless sack of cunt actually is. Because she came out and she says something about, and it is the utmost communist horseshit, saying that some people need more of a hand than other people so we can all get to the same point. And that's not how equality works. That's how equity works. And that's even what she says. It's about equity, not equality. Equality is everybody has the same opportunities. It doesn't really matter where you're starting from. It matters that you have the same chances. Yes, if you're starting further back in the race, it's harder to catch up to the guys that got a head start, but you have the same opportunity to get there. You just got to work fucking harder to get it. What this worthless cunt wants is she wants the people who were born without the same advantages to get the same fucking result. Now, the problem with that is that it removes any and all motivation to strive for excellence. You don't have to work harder, so you don't work harder. People are inherently fucking lazy, and when they can do the bare fucking minimum and get the same result as somebody that's busting their ass, nobody's going to bust their fucking ass anymore, and then society falls apart. It has happened literally every time communism has been attempted on this fucking planet. And then people will say things like, what about China? What about North Korea? North Korea has a very select elite that have decent lives, and everybody else has shit. And they only have the select elite that are managing to leech off the rest of the fucking society because, well, they still have a bastardized version of capitalism. It's really statism and cronyism, but there is still certain free market principles that are brought into play, but only for the benefit of the controlling elite. Same thing with China. China's got millionaires and billionaires, and they are the party elite. And meanwhile, the average motherfucker doesn't have that great of a life. I mean, it's not as bad as it is some places, from what I understand. Even the shitty communist society in China isn't quite as bad as a lot of other shitty countries is. I'm saying this, yes, I'm a judgmental prick. I think I'm better than everybody else because of where I live and the random circumstances and chancery that brought me to where I am and what I have. But I'm realistic enough to acknowledge those things. And yes, other countries are utter shit. America, fuck yeah. But ultimately, it's not about equity of outcome. It's about equal opportunities. Everybody should be able to have the same chances. Now, whether you take advantage of those chances, whether you capitalize on the chances, whether or not you put in the work should be what determines your outcome. You get a worthless bitch that fucked, sucked, and fucking worked the system to get where she is, she's never going to fucking understand that. And that is realistically why anybody that's supporting her is a fucking functional retard. They have no realistic idea of how the world works. They have some twisted, bizarre idea of how the world should work, but has no grounding in fucking reality. That's why it's primarily out-of-touch celebrities and fucking woke college kids that support this shit. That and guys that watch their husbands get fucked by some motherfucker they picked up in the hood with a big dick and a third-grade education. And, so hanging it up on the cuck chair, we're going to say wrap it up. For now, that's what I had to say. Thanks for listening to another episode, guys. If you liked what you heard, leave a comment, leave a review, leave a rating. Go to ihadtosayitpodcast.com, sign up for the mailing list, interact with the show. Click the links, sign up for the Patreon, join the Discord. Come and interact, be a part of the show. Buy the merch, support your favorite creator. Or support me. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Till next time.